all of that leads us to our main topic, which is deep research. We've been using it. For those who haven't used it, deep research is a new tool and application available through OpenAI that does exactly what the name says, which is refreshing from OpenAI, which is not historically great at naming things. But deep research will take your prompt. You can ask, as we did for this, tell us about the opinion in Thomson Reuters v. Ross. It will then respond to you with a series of questions that you would get from a very smart junior associate, I imagine. Do you want me to look in the legal industry only, the tech industry, both? Are you looking for thought leaders' responses or only other courts? It asks you a whole bunch of questions. You give it the answers to those, and then it goes off for a few minutes and does deep research and presents you with a report that is not just a summary, which is more like Google's deep research option, but really goes deeper into what the implications are, where the nuanced perspectives are. And I just find it to be absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's a stunning product. I mean, I like you, I don't regret it at all. It's just, it's really pretty incredible to have that kind of help right at your fingertips. And, it's very smart. It's very thorough. It's very efficient, and it does feel like the next step in forcing lawyers and legal businesses to think differently about how their work is valuable, which, like, I absolutely believe it is. I believe that, the human piece of what we do is critical. But if and I think you and I were in the same conversation with a partner at a big law firm, we don't need to be specific, who used it and produced a pretty, I think he said, A-minus level brief. So if you can produce A-minus level work in minutes, rather than what might take an associate a week, 2 weeks, we're just gonna have to think differently about what practicing law means, right? I or we can get, excited about what it means, right? Because it can allow we can probably do a whole lot more, and a whole lot more of what we like doing. But it definitely feels to me like the next, reminder to lawyers that you really gotta get serious about what this means for what we do. I don't know. Other takeaways that you have?
And we talked about this. When I ran the deep research report on the Judge Bibas opinion, my first thought was if I had gone back to the days when I was a junior associate in a law firm and a partner had asked me to pull that opinion, read it, interpret it, figure out what the implications were for our clients, and not bill too much time to it. I remember those days. I remember being brand new to understanding anything about the law and just trying to figure out, like, how to read things well and capture all the nuance, and this produced a result that I could never have produced as a junior associate, and even if I could, it would have taken me, I think, like, weeks to come up with something like this of billable time. So, for the business model, I just think that we are not that far away, as you said, and we'll talk, now, I guess, about the paywall issue. Once that unlock happens, and I think it will happen because of the reasons that we talked about earlier, that it's not copyrightable information, it just requires somebody to gather it. Um, we're in a totally different world then.
Yeah. The paywall. So yeah, I have so many different thoughts like intersecting. The paywall has been what everyone has thought was maybe the barrier to this technology having a fast impact within legal. But I'm not confident it's hasn't already been overcome. Like, I mean, we don't know, because it's not like these private companies have to report what they've scraped or where they've gone and ingested data. And again, let's be very clear: you're not doing anything wrong to go ingest every legal opinion, and as it should be, frankly, right? The law should be free and public. It should also, frankly, be understandable to people who are governed by it. But that's that might be asking for a lot. But it's not maybe the frontier model companies have already ingested all of the law and the paywall, um, if you experiment with deep research and ask it legal questions, you might come to that conclusion. I have to say, I don't know, but if you see the results, you might think it has. So the paywalls, I think, are not long serving as moats, in the legal industry or any other industry. My Zach Abramowitz, who I do another podcast with, he calls you his podcaster-in-law. You guys are like you're his podcaster-in-law. He said everything is it's pace of innovation over moats with this technology. Moats are useless. And paywalls are moats and they're useless. It's pace of innovation over moats. And I think he's right about that. And this
Or as Ethan Mollick says, speed is a moat,
yeah,
which is the same
same
point.
same idea, I think. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when Ethan Malik was the one who first started saying, like, assume paywalls are not an issue, right? In 5 minutes, and it might be 5 minutes ago at this point. Like, I don't know where we are on whether paywalls are doing anything anymore. What's your thought about that?
Well, maybe this is a helpful comparison because when I was running the deep um, research for this podcast, I went back and forth with the model and asked it to pull the actual opinion, which again, problematic for Google because before I would have gone to Google to find it. And it immediately produced a PDF I'm sorry, it produced the link to the District of Delaware's website where I was able to just easily click on a PDF, which I then took and uploaded to Google Notebook LM and turned it into a podcast to listen to. Um, but I think to your point, the challenge really has been before, as you talk about frequently, scraping state court data, getting all of this really disconnected information in one place. But because it's out there publicly and it's not copyrightable, the model will go get it for me if I ask, which means it has access to anywhere on the web where this information is publicly available. Um, by comparison, I'm working on a different project where we were trying to get articles from inside higher ed, like the paywalled publication for higher ed administration. And I ran a deep research report on what they've written about last year on generative AI and higher education. And it produced like a summary of 20 different articles. And then I asked it, well, isn't this a paywalled resource? How are you able to actually give me summaries of these? Because I don't have a subscription to it and I don't know that you do either. And it said, like, I cannot access the underlying information beyond the 5 free articles that you get. So I'm basing the summaries on other public commentary about the underlying articles. Um, so I think the point that you're making is the really important one for lawyers, like, our information really isn't behind a paywall. The way I had been thinking about a paywall was the paywall we use, to access Westlaw and Lexis, but the Bibas opinion and our knowledge is that the underlying information is not paywalled at all, it's not copyrightable at all. So I think it's a bigger opportunity and challenge in legal for that reason.
Yeah. And the product obviously wasn't, OpenAI didn't say we're releasing deep research, which is basically, an associate at a law firm, because in fact, it's also, a consultant at a consulting firm and whatever the field is, it works as basically a junior partner in that field. But it really is, I know legal work because that's what I've spent my life doing, and the things that it does, like you said, are so similar to what you might ask an associate to do, researching and making connections across different sources of law, and synthesizing the places where there's a conflict or not. It feels like it's just doing the kind of work that you need lawyers to do, right? So, I don't know. I mean, it does remind me a little bit of the JAMA study that we talked about. I don't know, now it feels like, 18 years ago, but it was probably in December. Um, but, again, interesting that medical researchers are, like, willing to disrupt themselves this way, right? They do a study and show that that the frontier models can do better diagnostic work than human doctors, and in fact can do better diagnostic work than human doctors using the generative models, and that's because the human doctors always override the generative models' suggestions. Um, it feels like that kind of moment for lawyers. Like if we can see now that this is going to do a lot of the things that we thought we were meant to be doing, um, let's see the upside potential of how we now can have this fully fully available partner to do some of the tedious things that have to be done to be able to exercise the judgment and help people solve problems in a way I still think humans can do better than better than technology. But but I don't know. It does feel it feels very similar to me than to that JAMA moment. Like oh, we're gonna have to focus on the things that we really do well. Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to 2030 Vision, AI and the Future of Law. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Stay informed and inspired as we continue to explore the AI-driven future of the legal profession. We'll see you next time.